Let's move on to your best bet here on Monday. You've circled the total between the Padres and the Tigers. Montero started last week against the Brewers. He got rocked. He gave up 3 bombs, 5 earned in 5 innings worth of work. On the other side of this matchup, the Padres are giving the ball to Randy Vasquez, who's looked great this season in terms of his ERA, 1.74 through 4 starts, but he's been hard hit a high percentage of his innings so far this season, and his FIP is 4.29. How are you seeing this total at sitting at 8.5?
Yeah, Montero, it's easy to say 5 innings, 5 runs, got rocked, one strikeout, eight or one walk, 8 strikeouts. And, when you're taking smaller samples of pitchers, smaller game logs, walks and strikeouts are almost everything. So it's actually very good to see that he was controlling the zone really well. Montero's problem is when guys do hit him, the ball tends to go a long way. Career 1.9 homers per nine. He has a slightly better walk rate, slightly better strikeout rate, I believe, too, than Randy Vasquez. Vasquez's issue is command. He has a walk rate near 10%, and he's a guy who's very much capable, even in good pitching weather, of walking the bases loaded and then walking in runs after that. I bet on several Randy Vasquez starts where he walks in a runner with the bases loaded, and there's just nothing worse than that as an underbetter watching a pitcher give up free base runners and maintaining the bases full. Sometimes, I feel less nervous with a runner on second and nobody out than I do with runners on first and second and nobody out, because I'm like, at least the double play set up here. When you have a pitcher like Randy Vasquez and the bases are full, the runs can come from all directions, whether it's him just not finding the zone or a batter putting the bat on the ball and clearing the bases with the double down the line. So he does make me nervous in terms of betting unders, but the Padres lineup is severely weakened relative to the lineup they should have, their fully healthy lineup. Assuming Luis Arraez will be out today, and he suffered what looked like a concussion last night in Houston, just speculating there, but it seemed like that was the case. At minimum, he should be out today, if not for at least a week. So now you're talking about pulling Luis Arraez, Jackson Merrill, Jake Cronenworth, and Jason Hayward, all left-handed hitters, out of that lineup going against a right-handed starter. I'd project this lineup, a fully healthy Padres lineup, for about a 115 WRC plus against right-handed pitching, top 5 offense against right-handed pitching. Without those guys in there, closer to league average. Still above league average, about a 102 WRC plus, but you go from having 8 above average hitters against right-handed pitching to 4 below average hitters against right-handed pitching. You still have very top-heavy, right? Tatis, Machado, Bogarts. But then after that, your 5 through 9 spots in your order: Jose Iglesias, Tirso Ornelas, Yuli Gurriel, who could barely get a major league job, Tyler Wade, and then your catcher spot. And your catcher spot is going to be below average regardless of whether you're healthy or not. They just have below average offensive catchers. But the 5 through 8 spots are like a dramatic drop off in offensive quality relative to what they should have, and also much more right-handed heavy, than the lefties they should be throwing out there, with all of those guys banged up at the moment. So I think this Padres offense severely diminished relative to what it could be. I do prefer their bullpen, though, and if we're talking about betting a full game over or full game under as opposed to a team total under, that's why I like the game under, just because the Padres do have the nastier bullpen and they're likelier to keep this game lower scoring in general. Now, something else I found digging into the math last night, trying to find a way to quantify the Sunday Night Baseball hangover effect, because this is something we regularly discuss here. Teams coming off of the Sunday night game, having to travel overnight to a new city, and then playing in that new city against the team who played on Sunday afternoon. So travel, rest advantage, etc. In this spot where a team is traveling to a new city, playing a team who's remaining in that same city, I found 121 instances of this in the past 15 years. Since 2009, those teams traveling overnight from Sunday Night Baseball scored an average of 0.4 runs less than their season-long average. Now, there is some selection bias in that data, right? If you're playing on Sunday Night Baseball, you're likely playing your rival. You're likelier to just use your A lineup, and then you may pull some guys out on Monday, because that's going to effectively be your off day because you play guys through the weekend. So there is some selection bias in there regarding lineups. But that said, I think you can still make an adjustment safely of about a quarter of a run game downward based off of that travel and rest factor for the team coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. So all that's to say, I make this total about 7.6. We bet the under 8 to minus 105. This was 8.5 last night before the Arraez injury. I would imagine it came down partially because of him, but maybe partially too, because that's where the market is headed, given my projections. So under 8 at minus 105 or better, my favorite bet between the Padres and Tigers for today.